somehow we make this smooth segue to the Sports Illustrated cover story on what happened to Tiger Woods. It's the most vexing question in sports. Alan Shipnuck, the senior writer at Sports Illustrated, who wrote the article, joins us now. Good morning, Alan. How are you?
I'm doing great, Dan. Thanks for having me.
What did you think of the cover as far as the title? Because I know you don't do the headline, but what did you think of the headline?
Well, I liked it since they stole it right out of my story. They flattered me by lifting an entire sentence. But I think it captured the essence of the article and really the ongoing mystery surrounding Tiger. It's a conversation piece in golf. Whenever you gather with golf types, we invariably talk about Tiger even to this day, and I think sports fans do as well. It's just there's still a collective kind of confusion about how we got to this moment in time, and that was the point of the article, was to try and lay out some of the facts and some of the things that people weren't aware of, and let the reader kind of answer the question for themselves.
What about Tiger's cooperation with this?
Or lack thereof. I didn't expect much from Tiger going in. He's done basically one sit-down in the last 7 years, and prior to that, he was a paid member of the Golf Digest staff, and they're kind of our competitor, or they'd like to think so anyway. And so there's always been a complicated relationship between Sports Illustrated and Tiger, and we've never had great access to him, even in his heyday, and he's kind of retreated, obviously post-scandal. So I made an approach, and his people weren't that interested, but in wanting to tell kind of the complete story, the good and the bad, I went down to Anaheim and took a tour of the Tiger Woods Learning Center, which is a hugely impressive facility, and the people there are great, and I was really impressed by the kids that were passing through. And after doing that, I went back to Tiger's people and said, this was just really cool. There's no downside for Tiger to talk about all his philanthropy, and they agreed. So Tiger and I had an email volley. I hope it was Tiger who was typing those responses. You never really know. That's why I hate email interviews. But anyway, it sounded like him. And so it was nice to get his voice in there in some way, shape, or form.
But it was a little strange, though, that you had quotes from him, but then there were no quotes with what the vexing question is in sports. That's what made it odd.
Well, the thing is, I don't know if Tiger could answer the question himself. I don't know if he really understands what's happened, and if he could articulate an answer anyway, even if he wanted to, which he doesn't.
But what would you ask him if I said, all right, you got two questions, he'll answer, and then that's it?
Well, one question would be, was it worth it? I think that's the bottom line with Tiger. And if his goal is to be the greatest golfer of all time, he pretty much achieved it, but it's come at a tremendous cost. So I'd be curious if with a little perspective now, if he really believes it was worth it.
But do you really think it was at any cost? I mean, he's rich beyond his imagination. He does have that. He does have a legacy here. Why wouldn't he sign up?
The legacy has been compromised, to say the least, and. There's a little element of Charles Foster Kane here with Tiger. I mean, by everyone I talked to, and there's almost 30 tour players quoted in this story, and to most of them, I asked, are you in touch with Tiger? Have you ever had dinner with Tiger? Do you think he's lonely? And everyone expressed a lot of concern for the guy, and even like Jason Gore, he goes back to junior golf with. I said, have you ever had a meal with Tiger? He said, no, never had dinner. I would love to, but he never asked. And I said, why didn't you ask him? And he said, it doesn't work that way with Tiger. Steve Stricker, probably his closest friend on tour, never had dinner with Tiger. Not that's the ultimate judge of a friendship, but they were out on tour for 100 nights a year. It's just a little weird. And no one knows who his friends are these days. No one's really in touch with him. And, by Tiger's own admission, he spends a lot of his days just playing video games at this giant empty mansion. So, he has a lot of money in the bank, and that's great. But I'm not sure that he has happiness or contentment.
But do you think he would be capable? Is he wired to have done it differently?
Well, that's really an interesting question. And, that the characteristics that made Tiger so great as a competitor, they came at a cost. That incredible selfishness, the focus, the single-minded pursuit of excellence, really the entitlement that he felt he deserved to win these tournaments, and all those things helped him as a competitor. But I think they were character flaws dealing with the rest of the world. So, and it's not Tiger's not the only one. Whether it's Ben Hogan or it's Nick Faldo, there's been a lot of great golfers who were not pleasant human beings, and it's an individual sport, and it takes an incredible amount of focus, and there's not always room for anything else in your life. So, I think if you ask Ben Hogan, he was okay with the trade-off, and probably Tiger was for most of his career. But now that golf has been taken away from him, what does he have left?
He's Alan Shipnuck, Sports Illustrated, the cover story, What Happened to Tiger Woods. It's the most vexing question in sports. You start the article by talking about what happened that night, Thanksgiving. How much of an effect did that have on Tiger Woods, the golfer?
Oh, massive, tremendous. In everything that followed from the scandal and the therapy, he really had to reinvent himself and become someone new. And maybe he became a better human being, but the competitor, the golfer, was gone forever. I mean, that Tiger, he left the building, Thanksgiving 2009. He's never coming back, and perhaps he could find another way. But even when he got back to number one in the world in 2013, he was still a lesser player, and the lack of belief, the lack of conviction showed up at the biggest events. He was in position to win basically 5 majors in 2012 and 13, and he didn't get any of it because he just couldn't access whatever it was that made him so unbeatable in the past. That had been stripped away. Whether it was self-belief, it was self-image, it was
health played a role
too.
Yeah, health played a role with this. I mean, guys have had affairs, gotten divorces, and they've still maintained, even thrived. But I think his body broke down.
That was an issue, but the back surgeries, that all followed. That period when he got back to number one, he was pretty whole. I mean, he had a few dings, but that wasn't what cost him in those 2 years, 2012, 2013. I mean, that was the best health he had post scandal. But
is he playing again though, Alan? Anytime soon?
I doubt it. I mean, I think he could be done forever. People forget that the public shaming that he went through with these chip yips last year, and shooting 85 at the Memorial, and he took so many blows. And does he want to have to climb back up the mountain and try again with all that scar tissue? Tiger's not like Arnold Palmer, who just wants to hear the cheers. Arnie played into his 50s and 60s, and he didn't care if he missed the cut. He just wanted to be out there. I'm not sure if Tiger loves golf as much as he loved winning and he loved the competition. And does he just want to come back and be a ceremonial figure? I don't think that's his idea of a good time. And he has this time away to reflect and kind of hit pause and really think about what he wants. And I don't know if he just wants to come back just to be there. So in some ways, it's a good time to walk away. The narrative is that injuries ended his career, and he put it this way: Tiger he did it better than anyone's ever done it for a very long time, and I think that's enough for him at this point.
Yeah, I don't think he can settle for, hey, I finished top 10, or I made some good money there. I think there's a real fear of being embarrassed. And, because it used to be he didn't even think about this. He walked on the course. He went to the driving range. Everybody noticed him. He intimidated everybody. Now I think it's more of a, hey, Tiger, how are you? Not, oh, boy, Tiger's here. And I think that Tiger probably senses that nobody's in fear of him. I think Tiger's in fear of Tiger, at least the old Tiger.
Well, of course. I mean, there's nothing more emasculating than the chip yips, right? I mean, he's right next to the green, and he can't even get the ball onto the putting surface. And at Augusta last year, remember Tiger went to the Phoenix Open in San Diego, and he couldn't chip to save his life. He took 2 months off, and he returned at the Masters. And I was out there following him that first round, and the anxiety in the crowd every time he got over the ball, it was unlike anything I've ever experienced at a golf tournament. There was like a sense of foreboding, because if he starts hitting it sideways at Augusta National, he could have shot 120. And I mean, it's a monument to Tiger's grit that he pretty much got around without a recurrence. But that lives inside you like a virus, just waiting to flower. And the last thing Tiger wants to do is come back and humiliate himself again like that. So it was, and that's not a physical thing. He knows how to chip the ball. You could blindfold any pro golfer; they can knock it on the green. That's purely mental and emotional, and that was really revealing that the depth that Tiger has kind of lost that self-belief.
I think that he was going to go to the Super Bowl when the Phoenix Open was going on. Was it that same week that the Super Bowl was in Arizona? I got a phone call from somebody saying Tiger's done. He pulled out. He's a mess. That was the quote. He is a mess, right? Emotional mess right now.
Yeah, I mean,
isn't that crazy?
Tiger brand was always built on invincibility.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the Terminator, and all of a sudden it's completely been stripped away. I mean, he can't even do the most rudimentary act of golf. So you can imagine what kind of turmoil he was in at that point. So that doesn't surprise me in the least. I mean, if you're just a recreational player and with your buddies at the Muni on Saturday and that happens to you, you just want to run and hide. So you're talking about the greatest golfer of all time. I mean, it's unfathomable what he was going through.
And he's 40, right?
He's 40, yeah.
And it's a lot of life left, but not a lot of golf life left, unless you can go to the. Usually, you get those guys at 40 who weren't great in their 20s or 30s. They can't wait to get to 50. I don't think Tiger's looking forward to that.
Yeah, can you imagine him playing the senior tour?
No,
but I mean, it's interesting. I think Tiger is trying to recast himself as an elder statesman. Taking on this vice captaincy at the Ryder Cup. That's a big deal for Tiger. He doesn't even like that event, but I think he's kind of realizing, I didn't leave a lot of goodwill behind me, and I do have a long life in this game in front of me. What am I going to do? People don't love me. They might have revered me and respected me, but he was never beloved. And I think Tiger's realizing he has some work to do, not only with the fans but also with his fellow players. And so to me, driving a cart and waving the pom-poms at the Ryder Cup, that's a huge deal for Tiger, because that's the last thing he'd ever would have wanted to do. But I think it's a step in the right direction for him, that for him to say, okay, it's time to transition into a different role. And I mean, he's earned that. He deserves it. You're talking about a person of massive importance in this game, and so you hope he can carve out this new identity, because there's not really a role for him right now if he can't win golf tournaments.
Alan, great job. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Dan. It's a
All
pleasure.
right. Alan Shipnuck, Sports Illustrated. Cover story, what happened to Tiger Woods? It's the most vexing question in sports.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.